Hello, and welcome back. I am so glad you could join me this week for another reading. Special thank you to my patrons. Your continued support means so much to me. Excuse me. If you enjoy the videos, please like, share, subscribe, the whole thing. Comment down below about anything, really. I do read all of the comments. But without further ado, I think it's time for us to jump back in to The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques, Chapter 9. Once they left the trees behind, there was very little shade. The water became deeper, the current more sluggish. Throughout the long, hot day, the travelers did their share, taking turns to relieve the Gaussum paddlers. Only little Chugger seemed unaffected by the blistering heat. With a damp shrew headband bound around his brow and an ash twig in his paw, he cavorted and leaped around everywhere, doing battle against a score of imaginary swans. No sooner had shadows begun to lengthen than Log shipped his paddle, calling out the order that they were all waiting upon. "Pull into that curve there on the right, mates. We'll rest there and camp until tomorrow." Gratefully, Trim watched their lumbering craft nose into the shallows of the cove. It had a good flat bank and protruding rock ledges to provide much-needed shade. Gaussum cooks immersed canteens of drinks in the water, which was cool and shaded by the overhang. Some went out scouting for fresh food, others began preparing a meal from their supplies. Eyeing their leader hopefully, the rest sat on the raft in silence, awaiting his command. Log Firmo wandered up and down the bank, peering into the crystal-clear water. He scratched his chin as if undecided, and then wagged a cautionary paw at his crew. "No further than the end of that raft now. Stay out of the current and deep parts, and keep close to the bank. I don't want to carry back any news of drowned Gaussum to your kin." Before he had finished speaking, several of the younger shrews hurled themselves into the stream. Yahoo! Jumping ashore to avoid the splashes of the bathing party, Log shook his head at Martin. "Look at him, like a flippin' shower at Dibbins." A secret wink passed between Gonf and Martin as the warrior shrugged free of his sword and belt. Grabbing Log between them, they leaped into the water. The shrew chieftain surfaced breathless, blowing away water out of both his nostrils. "You rotten, horrible creatures! What'd you do that for?" Gon flung himself at Log and ducked him. "Get out, you old fogey! You were dying for a play in the water, weren't you?" Log swam deftly out of the Wouse thief's reach. "Of course I was, mate. But don't tell my shrews that. I'm supposed to be a serious leader who acts responsibly." He sank beneath the surface again as Chugger landed on him. "You're not a leader, you're a big fish. Chugger want to ride on your back. Come on, fishy. Hop, hop, get a move." Every beast had tremendous fun in the stream, laughing and splashing, ducking and diving, and behaving exactly as Log had said, like a shower of Dibbins. However, they deserted the water en masse when the foraging party returned, hailing them from the bank top. "Looky, mates! We found strawberries!" 2 haversacks filled with wild strawberries, small, sweet, and juicy, were carried into camp. Refreshed after her swim, Trimp sat with Chugger and Dinny on the sun-warmed rocks, sharing a heap of the delicious fruit. One of the foraging party reported to Log. "Saw a pile of otter tracks on the heathland back there, maybe 15 or more, all big uns." The shrew chieftain shrugged, selecting a big strawberry. "Otters are good beasts. We've no reason to fear 'em. They're welcome to a paw full of victuals if they visit us." As evening shades tinged the skies, the otters came upriver and emerged, dripping from the stream. A big, wiry fellow, obviously their skipper, held forth his paws in greeting. "Peaceful evening to you, friends. Is that a fruit salad with strawberries in it, I see? Looks handsome, don't it?" Log smiled at the hungry otters, indicating that they were free to help themselves. "Sit down and welcome, friend. Haven't I seen you before?" Balancing back on his rudder-like tail, the otter answered, "Probably crossed paths once or twice, matey. I'm Tungro. My tribe have a holt in the river north of here." The shrew nodded. "Ah, Tungro. Heard your name someplace. What you and your crew doing hereabouts, mate?" Tungro accepted food from Trimp and thanked her. He acted rather nonchalant, but Log suspected he was either hiding something or not telling the full story when he replied airily. Oh, not much, just taking a look to see what's on the other side of the hill, so to speak. Ain't you or none of your crew caught sight of an old-looking raggedy hut around here, have you? Loggerlog threw a pebble into the stream, watching it sink. No, mate. Why do you ask? Tungro did not reply. He nodded to his crew, finished eating, and bobbed his head courteously. Obliged to ye for your victuals, friend. Go in peace and fortune travel with ye. Oh, and if you should bump into the old otter I mentioned, tell him that he can come back to the hold if he's mended his ways. Tungro handed Firmo an otter tail ring. Give him this, and say your old mate's of mine. Fare you well now. Without creating a single splash, the otters slipped into the water and were gone. Martin and Gonf came to sit alongside Loggerlog, and the mouse thief expressed his bewilderment. Phew, that was a speedy visit. What do you suppose it was all about, Firmo? That's not Martin's accent. Mouse thief. The shrew's answer was guarded. You'll forgive me if I don't tell the whole story, 'cause I ain't certain of all the facts myself, but it is as much as I'm willing to say, mates. I've heard of Tungro, aye, and his brother, Fulgrim. Both great warriors, 'tis said, but Fulgrim was known to be fiercer, even though he was smaller than Tungro. Well, their old father died, and they was joint skippers of their alt. One winter they were attacked by a mixed band of vermin, but otters ain't no beasts to be messed with. They gave those vermin scum a real good drubbing and drove 'em off. Now Tungro reckoned that was enough, but not old Fulgrim. Off he went alone in pursuit of the vermin. It wasn't till 2 seasons later Fulgrim returned home. They say the vermin laid a trap and captured him. Starved, beat, tortured, something horrible he was. Wounded, crippled, with only one good eye. Sick in the brain too, 'cause Fulgrim was never the same after what those vermin did to him. I know from listening to travellers Fulgrim behaved so bad and strange that Tungro banished him. More than once from the halt, but Fulgrim always returns. Tungro forgives him and takes him back. Well, you couldn't banish your own brother forever just 'cause he ain't right in the head. Now could you? Martin had to agree with the shrew. No, you're right. Blood's thicker than water. Well, what was that he gave you to give to his brother? Loggerlog held up the beautiful otter tail ring, carved from the backbone of some fish. No, I signed it. I hope we don't meet Fulgrim and have to give it to him. Gonf took the tail ring and inspected it. Why not, Firmo? He's not as bad as all that, is he? The shrew took the tail ring back and stowed it in his pouch. I can't say, Gonf. I won't tell you what I've heard because I'm not sure I believe it, and I can't tell you what I haven't seen. I'm for a spot of shut-eye now. You two can sit up and matter all night. Nothing further was mentioned of Tungro's brother Fulgrim. The friends lay down to rest that night with their own thoughts of the story they had heard. Purely out of insatiable curiosity, Gonf wished he could meet the strange otter. Finally, the mouse thief slept, not knowing he was to get his wish on the following day. Next morning was damp and humid, with the sky clouded over dirty gray and drizzle falling continuously. Pushing on downstream, the craft sailed slowly along the rain-flecked waters. Trimp and Chugger sat beneath the awning the shrews had set up from the single sail. The hogmaid watched the others, droplets spilling from their whiskers, soaked through, paws slipping on paddles as they pushed doggedly on. As noon approached, there was no change, and the drizzle persisted. Gauss and paddlers looked pleadingly to their leader. Loggerlog wiped moisture from his eyes, seeking a suitable spot along the bank. Eventually he called out, "Head her in, mates! Looks like an old cave over yonder." A tent was rigged over the cave front, and the provisions were stacked under it to keep them dry. Every beast crowded under the canvas in the small cave. Chugger was wearing a rough hooded cloak which Trimp had fashioned from an empty apple sack. Evading the hedgehog maid, who looked after him like a mother duck, the little squirrel toddled off to explore the country. Trimp looked right and left. Where had the little imp gone? Poking her head from under the shelter, she spotted him. Chugger had climbed the rock ledges and was up on top of the bank. He wrinkled his nose and waved at Trimp. "Not to worry about, Chug, just going to fight swans!" Waving his ash twig, he vanished from sight. Trimp took off in pursuit, scrambling up the wet stones. Martin had just lit a small fire when he heard Trimp calling urgently from above. "Help! Come quick, mates!" Grabbing his sword, Martin dashed down ahead of the shrews. Together, he, Gonf, and Firmo took the ledges in a series of bounds, with Dinny and the Gaussum following swiftly behind. Trimp was crouched down, protecting Chugger. She pointed. There, Martin, oh, help him, please! 2 water rats were tormenting another creature. Martin peered through the curtain of misty drizzle. It was an otter, limping along, clad in a ragged cloak and bent almost double. Kicking him and striking him with whippy willow withes, the vermin spat at him, taunting, Move yourself, you doddering old ragbag, 'cause we're going to tie rocks to your paws and sink you in the stream nice and slow. Come on, you robbling addle-brained idiot. Martin lifted his sword and took a pace forward. Logolog placed a paw on his shoulder. Stop there, warrior. Don't interfere. That's Fulgrim, you see. Fighting the enemy. Gonf nodded towards the 2 rats, who were still unaware of their presence. He's fighting them, do you say? It looks the other way around to me, mate. Logolog shook his head grimly, murmuring to his shrews. Get Trimp and the little one back down to the cave. This ain't fit for him to see. Keep silent, Martin. Crouch down by me and watch. You too, Gonf. 1 rat stuck out his footpaw and tripped the lame otter, who fell heavily. Both rats laid on savagely with their switches as he pleaded. Please, sirs, don't drown me. I'm not but a poor wayfaring beast who's lost his way. Don't beat me, oh! This continued for a moment until one of the rats got too close to the victim. Like a wolf, Fulgrim was upon him with lightning speed. He seized the rat in a death hug and sank his teeth deep into the vermin's throat. Shocked beyond belief, the other rat stood trembling for a moment. Then he dashed off, wailing in terror. Fulgrim lifted a blood-stained mouth from his prey's neck, calling, Run, 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 ratty! I'll track you down! Fulgrim's got ya! Ha ha! At a signal from Logolog, the travelers backed off, unobserved, and clambered down to their camp. Gonf sat by the fire, sipping a beaker of hot mushroom soup. He stared into the flames and shuddered. I've never seen a creature killed like that afore. Martin passed a beaker of soup to Logolog. So that's Fulgrim, brother of Tungro. Well, Firmo, do you believe what they say now? Logolog nodded. Every word, mate. Every awful word. A sound of somebody scrambling down to the ledges alerted them. Next moment, Fulgrim limped in, still with a blood-smeared mouth. Chugger's eyes grew big and round at the sight of the fearsome beast. The otter winked his single eye at them and sat by the fire. Ah, a nice fire. Chills a beast to the bone, Trizzle does. Swiftly, Dinny filled a beaker from the soup pot. Here, Sir Otter, drink ye some nice hot soup here. Smiling, Fulgrim shook his head. Martin saw that his teeth were filed, or broken, into jagged points. Not for me, Mole. I got food back up there. Trimp approached, bearing a loaf and a hunk of cheese. Take these with you for tomorrow, sir. She took a step forward at the sight of the otter's face. It was painted thickly with plant dyes and mud to cover the horrible wounds and scars etched into it. The single red-rimmed eye stared crazily at her. No, thank you, miss. I'll have more food by tomorrow when I track the other one down. You, shrew, can you lend me half tender and flint? Beast needs good cooking fire in this country, and I ain't got the makings. Logolog gave Fulgrim a bag of dried moss and 2 chunks of flintstone to make fire with. Take 'em and welcome, friend. Your brother Tungro said that I should give you this tail ring, too. Said you're welcome back at the Holt, if you've mended your ways. We're friends of your brother's. Fulgrim reached out and grabbed Trimp's paw and pushed the tail ring over it with a swift movement and released her. Pretty bracelet for a pretty maid, eh? Ever you see my brother? Tell him that I said he's a good beast. He'll better off without me. It's far too late for me to mend my ways. Gotta go now. Light a fire, do a spot of cooking. Travel on, catch the other rat. Light a fire, do more cooking. Baring his pointed teeth at the horrified friends, Fulgrim stood up and trumped out into the rain. Trimp covered her mouth with both paws, her normal good pallor taking on a greenish tinge. Logolog sat her down by the fire, placing a dry sack around her shoulders. Do you feel sick, missy? You don't look none too chirpy. Trimp took a deep breath before replying. Didn't you hear? The otter's going to cook a rat and eat it. I can't believe it. Gonf winked at the others as he patted Trimp's paw. You didn't believe him, did you, Trimp? That's a good un. Ain't it, Martin? Ain't it, Firmo? An otter Eating a water rat. They both laughed hollowly. You shouldn't believe all you hear, Trimp. Aye, he was only joking, miss. Martin's half-hearted laugh trailed off miserably. Farther along the bank, in the shelter of another rock ledge, Fulgrim was kindling a fire and holding a one-sided conversation with the slain water rat. Pity I never got your mate. He was fatter than you are. Still, don't fuss. I'll lay him by the paws afore sunset tomorrow night. Fire's nice, isn't it? Chills a beast to the bone, the drizzle does. A nice fire. I likes a good fire. And that's where we're going to end it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have been enjoying the videos, please like, share, subscribe. Special thank you again to my patrons. If you'd like to join them, there are links to do so, and other links to support the channel in the description below. I hope I see you guys again next week. Be safe, wash your hands, and I hope you have a good week.